Hello guys, welcome to Pika Fiction. So in this video, we will see what if Ash saved the Galar region and Marnie and Gloria fought to be his queen. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1, The weight of iron. The rain and wind didn't wash things clean, it just made the grime slicker. Ash Ketchum stood by the floor-to-ceiling glass of the royal spire, looking down at the sprawling, neon-lit labyrinth of the capital. From this height, the people were invisible, reduced to moving currents of light and shadow. He hated the height. He hated the glass. He missed the dirt of the road, the smell of a campfire, and the simple, binary logic of a Pokemon battle. Behind him, the war room was dissolving into chaos. The supply lines in Circhester are frozen solid. Gordy's voice cracked, echoing off the obsidian walls. We can't move heavy cavalry through the Route 9 tunnel if the ice doesn't break. My mother is holding the line, but she needs reinforcements, not excuses. And who do you propose we send? Be shot back, her tone sharp enough to cut steel. She was leaning over the holographic map table, her knuckles white. My fighters are stretched thin patrolling the wild area. If I pull them back to shovel snow for you, the southern perimeter falls to the rogue Dynamax pockets within the hour. Maybe if Stoonside didn't waste resources on, enough. The word wasn't shouted. It was spoken with the low, rolling rumble of distant thunder. The room went silent instantly. Ash turned away from the window. He looked older than his 18 years. The cap was gone, replaced by the heavy responsibility that seemed to pull at the corners of his eyes. He wore a high-collared coat of slate gray and black, tailored to allow movement, reinforced with lightweight Kevlar weave. On his left hip rested the rusted shield, now polished to a dull, terrifying sheen. On his right shoulder sat Pikachu, his yellow fur bristling with static, eyes sharp and unblinking. Ash walked to the table. The gym leaders, Gordy, B, Alistair, and Kaboo, parted like the Red Sea. B, Ash said, his voice level. You're not pulling troops from the wild area. Keep the perimeter tight. He shifted his gaze. Gordy. You don't need cavalry. You need air support to drop supplies and break the ice formations. He looked at the empty seat at the far end of the table. Where is Raihan? Hammerlock is, unresponsive, my king, Kaboo said, his voice gravelly with age and worry. The fire-type specialist looked tired, his usual fiery demeanor dampened by weeks of siege politics. The storms around the energy plant are interfering with comms. Ash's hand tightened on the edge of the table. Unresponsive is not a word I can afford right now. He closed his eyes for a second, reaching out. Not with a phone, or a radio, but with the aura that had become as natural to him as breathing. He felt the pulses of life in the room, BEA's disciplined steel, Gordy's rocky frustration, Alistair's cold anxiety. He pushed further, trying to feel the north, but a static fuzz, like white noise, blocked him. Null energy. They're blocking me, Ash muttered, opening his eyes. They glowed briefly with a sapphire hue before fading. The signal isn't down. It's being jammed. The Aegis faction? B asked, her hand drifting to the pokeballs on her belt. Who else? Ash stepped back, pacing the length of the room. Chairman Rose's legacy. They think we're weak because we rely on the gods. They want to prove that humanity doesn't need Pokemon. He stopped, looking at the rusted shield on the wall display, the artifact of Zamazenta. They're wrong. But they're dangerous. The heavy oak doors at the end of the hall shuddered. The guards outside didn't open them. Someone hit them. Hard. Boom. The timber groaned. Security. Gordy yelled, reaching for his colossal's ball. Crack. The lock mechanism shattered, sending metal shrapnel skittering across the marble floor. The doors swung open violently, banging against the stone walls. A figure stood in the doorway, framed by the corridor light. She was dripping wet. Mud caked her boots up to the knees. Her signature tartan skirt was torn, and the green beret was gone, replaced by a bandage wrapped hastily around her forehead, soaked in red. Gloria. The sword of the Highlands. She didn't look like a former champion. She looked like a survivor of a shipwreck. In her hand, she dragged something heavy, a heap of twisted metal and sparking wires. She marched into the room, leaving a trail of muddy water and blood. The gym leader stepped back, alarmed, but Ash didn't flinch. He just watched her. Gloria stopped 5 feet from the table and heaved the object forward. It crashed onto the polished surface, sliding into the holographic display and flickering the map of Galar. It was a head. A mechanical head, resembling a corviknight, but wrong. The eyes were red sensors. The beak was a serrated drill. "Explain," Gloria rasped. Her voice was hoarse, probably from hours of shouting orders over the roar of battle. She grabbed a pitcher of water from the table and drank directly from it, spilling half of it down her chin. "Gloria," Ash said softly. "You're bleeding." "I'm pissed off, Ash." "That's what I am," she snapped, slamming the pitcher down. She wiped her mouth with the back of a mud-caked hand. "Found this sweeping the outskirts of Postwick. My mother's house." The room went cold. Postwick was sacred ground. It was nowhere near the conflict zones. "It's an automaton," Kaboo observed, leaning in. "But the design. It's a hunter-killer," Gloria spat. She pointed a shaking finger at the machine. "It didn't have a trainer. It didn't have a soul. It just had a directive. It went straight for the nursery. It ignored the adults. It wanted the eggs, Ash. It was trying to cull the population before it could be born." B gasped. "That's monstrous. That's war." Gloria turned her blazing eyes on Ash. "They aren't fighting for territory anymore. They're fighting for extinction. I barely stopped it. INTE. Intelian took a railgun round to the shoulder. "He's in critical." Ash walked around the table. He stopped in front of Gloria. She was vibrating with adrenaline and rage, a live wire ready to snap. He reached out and placed a hand on her shoulder. She stiffened, then sagged, just a fraction. "Is your mom safe?" Ash asked. "She's in the bunker," Gloria whispered, the fire dimming for a second to reveal the terror underneath. "Ash, I can't. I can't chase ghosts anymore. I need an army. Give me the Northern Legion. Give me the decree. I will march on their labs and I will burn them to the ground. If you march an army north without intelligence, you're marching into a grave," a voice came from the shadows. Gloria spun around, hand flying to the heavy claymore strapped to her back, a prop she had started carrying, but one she knew how to use. From the dark corner of the room, where the shadows seemed to pool unnaturally, Marnie stepped forward. She was the antithesis of Gloria. Where Gloria was loud, muddy, and chaotic, Marnie was pristine, sharp, and silent. She wore her customized leather jacket, the spikes gleaming under the war room lights. Her dark hair was shaved on the side, perfect as always. She didn't look like she had come from a war zone, she looked like she had come from a funeral. "Marnie," Ash nodded. He hadn't looked at the corner, but he had known she was there. Lucario, standing silently by the window, had sensed her 10 minutes ago. "You've been here the whole time?" Gloria accused, eyes narrowing. "Long enough to hear you hyperventilating," Marnie said coolly. She walked to the table, her movements fluid. She dropped a thick manila folder onto the metal head Gloria had brought. "You found a toy." "I found the receipt." Gloria bristled. "Watch your mouth, Spikemouth." "Quiet, both of you," Ash commanded. He picked up the folder. "What is this?" "Shipping manifests," Marnie said, ignoring Gloria's glare. Intercepted from a shell company operating out of the Winden underground. Those machines. They aren't being built in the north. The parts are coming from here. The capital. Ash flipped the dossier open. Photos. Bank transfers. Names of prominent noble families, families that had smiled at him during his coronation. The call is coming from inside the house, Ash, Marnie said, leaning her hip against the table. You have traitors in the court. Funding Lysander. Giving him the codes to bypass our perimeter sensors. She looked at Gloria. If you take an army north, the nobility here will cut your supply lines before you reach the Weald. You'll starve, and your Pokémon will run out of energy. It's a trap. Gloria looked at the file, then at the machine head. The rage in her eyes shifted from hot fire to cold calculation. So what? We sit here and wait for them to send more murderbots to my house. No, Marnie said. We purge the court. Tonight. Quietly. Morpeko and Grimmsnarl can clear a mansion in under 3 minutes. No noise. No press. Assassination? Gloria scoffed. We are the crown, Marnie. Not a street gang. We declare them traitors and arrest them. And let them stand trial. Let them spew their null energy propaganda to the press. You want to turn them into martyrs. Marnie's voice remained calm, which only infuriated Gloria more. I want to show the people we aren't afraid. Gloria shouted. Ash, give me the order. I'll take the Corvinite squad. I'll drag every traitor out of their beds and throw them in the dungeon by sunrise. And I'll slit their throats before they can scream, Marnie countered, her eyes locking onto Ash's. It's cleaner. It's safer. It's murder. It's justice. Silence. The air in the room didn't just vibrate this time, it cracked. Pikachu's cheek sparked, sending a literal bolt of electricity arching into the ceiling. The smell of ozone filled the room. Ash stood between them. The exhaustion was gone from his face, replaced by the mask of the Wolf King. His eyes were hard, the playful trainer of Pallet Town buried beneath the weight of the crown. We are not assassins, Ash said, looking at Marnie. She didn't flinch, but she lowered her gaze. And we are not butchers, he added, turning to Gloria. She clenched her jaw but stepped back. Ash looked down at the map. The red lights of enemy movement were blinking. The blue lights of his allies were fading. We do both, Ash said. Gloria and Marnie looked up in unison. What? Ash pointed to the map. Marnie, your intel is solid. These families. House Telson, the Sterling Corp, they are funding the terror cells. If we arrest them publicly, they stall us with bureaucracy. If we kill them, we create martyrs. He looked at Marnie. I want you to drain them. Use your network. Freeze their assets. Hack their servers. Steal their data. Make them destitute by morning. If they can't pay the mercenaries don't fight. Marnie's lips quirked into a ghost of a smile. Financial ruin. I can do that. Ash turned to Gloria. And once they are broke and panicked, they will try to run. They will try to flee north to join Lysander. That is when you strike. He traced a line on the map, the main highway leading out of Winden. You take the 1st Battalion, Ash ordered Gloria. You wait at the bridge. When they run, you catch them. You arrest them not as nobles, but as fugitives fleeing justice. You do it loud. You do it in front of the cameras. You show the people that no one is above the law. Gloria's grin returned, sharp and predatory. A public takedown. I like it. But that's not all, Ash said. He walked to the window, looking at his reflection. Lysander knows we're fragmented. He thinks I'm a child playing king. He thinks Gloria is a brute and Marnie is a criminal. He turned back, his cape swirling. We need to show him he's wrong. We're going to the slumbering weald. The weald? Kaboo asked, alarmed. My king, the fog there has turned toxic. Since the darkest day, no one who goes in comes out. That's why we're going, Ash said. The rusted sword and shield are losing their power. I can feel it. Zacian and Zamazenta are restless. If we don't stabilize the source of the hero energy, we can't pierce the null fields. He looked at the two women. I'm not going alone, Ash said. I need my sword. He looked at Gloria. She straightened up, wincing slightly at her injuries but ignoring the pain. You have it. And I need my shadow. Ash looked at Marnie. She nodded, a slow, deliberate movement. Always. Get patched up, Ash ordered Gloria. Marnie, get to work on those accounts. We leave at 0400 hours. Pack for heavy combat. If the legends are true, the weald isn't just foggy anymore. It's haunted. Gloria saluted, a messy, disrespectful salute that Ash secretly loved, and marched out, boots squelching. Doc. Get the stitching kit. I've got a war to win. Marnie lingered. She waited until the gym leaders had filed out, leaving only Ash and Pikachu in the vast, dim room. You look tired, Ash, she said softly. The edge was gone from her voice. I'm fine, Ash lied. He sat on the edge of the heavy table, rubbing his temples. Marnie walked over. She didn't touch him, she knew the boundaries, but she stood close enough that he could smell the scent of incense and dark vanilla she always wore. Gloria is going to get herself killed, Marnie said. She's fighting like she wants to die. She's fighting like she has something to prove, Ash corrected. She gave up the championship for this government. She feels like she let the people down. And you? Marnie asked. Do you feel like you let them down? Ash looked at Pikachu. The electric mouse cooed softly, nuzzling Ash's cheek. I didn't ask for this, Marnie, Ash whispered. I just wanted to be a Pokemon master. Now I'm deciding which cities get food and which ones starve. I'm deciding who lives and who dies. That's why you're good at it, Marnie said. She reached out, hesitating, then brushed a stray lock of hair from his forehead. Her fingers were cool. Because you hate it. Lysander loves power. You love the world. That's the difference. She pulled back before the moment could linger too long. I'll drain their accounts. By the time you wake up, the nobility will be begging for mercy. She turned to leave. Marnie, Ash called out. She stopped at the broken doors. Thank you. She didn't look back, but he saw her shoulders relax. Don't thank me, Ash. Just survive tomorrow. If you die in that fog, I'll be very cross with you. She slipped into the shadows and was gone. Ash sighed, the sound echoing in the empty hall. He looked at the mechanical head on the table. The red eye flickered once, then died. Pikachu, Ash said quietly. Pika. Do you think we can save them all? Pikachu didn't answer with words. He just hopped onto Ash's shoulder and sparked, a small, defiant sound in the silence. Ash stood up. He walked to the rusted sword mounted on the wall. He took it down. It felt heavy, heavier than it had when he fought Eternatus. The metal was cold, lifeless. Hang in there, Zacian, he whispered to the steel. We're coming. Outside, the rain turned to snow, burying the city in white. The Wolf King turned off the lights, leaving the room in darkness, save for the single, blinking red light of the enemy map, pulsing like a slow, dangerous heartbeat. Chapter 1 End. Chapter 2, The Bleeding Weald. The fog didn't just obscure vision, it tasted like copper and old blood. The slumbering weald had always been a place of heavy, mystical silence, but this was different. The ancient trees, usually vibrant with the hum of fairy-type energy, were gray and twisted. The moss underfoot was slick, oozing a dark, viscous fluid that hissed faintly when stepped on. Ash raised a hand, signaling a halt. Behind him, the soft metallic clink of Gloria's armor stopped. To his left, Marnie merged with the shadow of a rotting oak, her morpico clinging silently to her shoulder. "Or a check," Ash whispered. He didn't turn his head. His eyes were closed, focused inward. Beside him, Lucario stood like a statue, the blue appendages on the back of its head floating in the non-existent breeze. "It is, static, Master," Lucario's voice resonated directly in Ash's mind. "The life force of the forest is screaming. But there are pockets of silence. Dead zones, null fields," Ash murmured. He opened his eyes. "Keep tight. Standard diamond formation. Gloria, point. Marnie, 6 o'clock. I'll take the center." "I hate this place," Gloria grumbled, shifting the weight of her claymore. She wore a modified carapace armor made from corvinite plating, light, durable, but currently splattered with the black muck of the forest floor. "It smells like a chemical fire." "Masks up," Marnie ordered quietly, pulling a sleek, rebreather unit over her mouth. "The toxicity levels are spiking. If we stay here more than 4 hours, our lungs will start to crystallize." Ash pulled his own scarf up, woven with threads treated by the fairy gym leaders to resist toxins, and nodded to Gloria. "Move out." Slowly. They pushed deeper. The silence was oppressive. Usually, the Weald would be teeming with squovit or rookery. Now, there was nothing. Just the gray mist swirling around their ankles like hungry ghosts. "Ash," Gloria whispered, her voice tight. "Look at the trees." Ash looked. Scratched into the bark of a massive oak were claw marks. But they weren't territorial markings. They were frantic. Deep gouges, tearing into the wood as if something had been trying to climb away from the ground in a panic. Whatever did this was big, Ash noted, running a gloved hand over the sap. And terrified. Snap. The sound was like a gunshot in the quiet. Gloria spun, claymore leveled. Contact front. From the fog, a shape emerged. It was a copraja, but it was wrong. Its skin, usually a vibrant green, was dull and patchy, revealing raw muscle underneath. Its eyes were milky white, leaking the same black fluid as the ground. It didn't trumpet. It didn't roar. It just charged. "Don't kill it," Ash commanded, stepping forward. "It's sick." Surfetched, block. In a flash of white, Ash's surfetched materialized from its ball, leak shield raised. The massive elephant Pokémon slammed into the bird, driving Surfetched back 10 feet, carving furrows in the mud. "Marnie." Grim snarl, "Restrain it." "On it," Marnie said calmly. She threw a dusk ball. Grimmsnarl burst out, hair tendrils already extending. "Spirit break, bind the legs." The dark fairy wrapped the copraja in thick, muscular hair, tripping the beast. It crashed down, shaking the earth. It thrashed wildly, letting out a gurgling, pain sound that made Ash's stomach turn. "It's in pain," Ash realized, rushing to the beast's head. He placed a hand on its trunk, pushing his aura into it, trying to soothe the madness. He recoiled instantly, his hand jerking back as if burned. "Ash?" Gloria was beside him, sword ready to strike the killing blow. "Don't," Ash gasped, clutching his wrist. "It's not a disease. It's a frequency. Something is broadcasting a signal that's scrambling their brains." "Can you stop it?" Marnie asked, scanning the perimeter. "No," Ash grit his teeth. "But I can knock it out." Pikachu, Thunderbolt. Low voltage. Just enough to stun. Pikachu leapt from Ash's shoulder. Choo! The yellow arc hit the copraja. The beast seized up, then went limp, its breathing ragged but unconscious. "We leave it," Ash said, standing up. We can't carry it. We have to find the source. We're sitting ducks out here, Gloria said, wiping mist from her visor. If a copperja can sneak up on us. It didn't sneak, Ash said darkly. We couldn't sense it because of the null energy. Our radar is jammed. He looked into the swirling fog ahead. And that means they know we're here. They reached the inner sanctum of the Weald an hour later. The fog here was so thick they could barely see 5 feet ahead. The ruins of the ancient shrine, where Ash and Go had once found the artifacts, loomed like skeletal fingers in the mist. Hold, Ash signaled. What is it? Marnie whispered. Too quiet, Ash said. He drew the rusted sword from his hip. It hummed faintly, reacting to the location, but the vibration was weak, dying. Suddenly, the fog ahead parted. Not naturally, but mechanically. 2 blue lights ignited in the darkness. Then 2 more. The sound of hydraulics hissing filled the clearing. Scatter! Ash roared. A beam of purple energy, concentrated null energy, tore through the space where they had been standing. It hit a stone pillar and didn't blow it up, it erased it. The stone simply turned to dust. Ash rolled to his feet, rusted sword in hand. Gloria. Flank left. Marnie, high ground. The attacker stepped into the light. It was a bipedal mech, standing 12 feet tall, sleek and black. It had no pilot cockpit. It was a drone, designed for slaughter. On its chest was the sigil of the Aegis faction, a shield broken in half. Target acquired, the machine spoke. The voice was synthesized, flat. Priority, the usurper. It raised a cannon arm aimed directly at Ash. Not today, tin can. Gloria yelled. She had flanked it. Urshifu. Wicked blow. Her Urshifu, the single-strike style, burst from the mist, a dark comet of fur and muscle. It struck the mech's knee joint with a punch that could shatter diamonds. Clang. The mech didn't buckle. A shimmering, hexagonal barrier appeared on impact, a null field shield. The energy of the punch dissipated instantly. What? Gloria's eyes widened. It ate the impact. The mech swiveled its torso with impossible speed. A back-mounted pylon swung down, slamming into Urshifu and sending the legendary bear flying into a tree. Urshifu! Gloria screamed. She saw red. Abandoning strategy, she drew her claymore and charged. I'll peel you open myself. Gloria, no. Ash yelled. Get back. She didn't listen. She slid under the mech's guard, swinging the massive sword at the hydraulic lines of its leg. The blade bit deep, severing a cable, spraying hydraulic fluid. The mech stumbled, but its reaction was instantaneous. It vented superheated steam from its chassis. Gloria screamed as the steam hit her, blinding her. The mech raised a metallic fist, piston-driven, ready to crush her into the mud. She couldn't see. She raised her sword blindly to block, bracing for death. It didn't come. Shing. A flash of steel intercepted the piston. Gloria blinked the tears from her eyes. Ash was there. He had wedged the rusted sword between the mech's crushing fist and Gloria's head. His knees were bent, his boots sliding in the mud under the immense weight. Lucario. Ash strained, veins bulging in his neck. Or a sphere. Inside the vent. Lucario didn't fire the sphere. He rushed in, condensed the sphere into his palm, and shoved his hand directly into the exposed vent where Gloria had cut the cable. Boom. The explosion happened inside the leg armor. The metal buckled outward. The mech listed to the side, its balance destroyed. Surfetched. Meteor assault. The White Knight descended from the tree line like a missile. With the shield generator down from the internal explosion, the leak lance pierced the mech's central eye. Sparks showered the clearing. The machine groaned, twitched, and collapsed into a heap of smoking scrap. Silence returned to the Weald. Ash dropped the rusted sword and fell to one knee, panting. The physical exertion of holding back a hydraulic press had strained every muscle in his back. Ash. Marnie slid down from the ruins, recalling her grim snarl. Gloria was staring at the machine, then at Ash. Her hands were shaking. She dropped her claymore. Gloria started, her voice trembling. I thought I had the opening. Ash stood up slowly. He didn't look at the mech. He walked over to Gloria. She flinched, expecting a reprimand. Expecting the, I told you so. Ash grabbed her arm. Not roughly, but firmly. He spun her around to inspect the burns on her neck and cheek from the steam vent. Sit down, he ordered. I'm fine, I can, sit down. Gloria sat on a fallen log. Ash knelt in the mud in front of her. He pulled a medical kit from his belt pouch. His hands were steady, methodical. He applied a cooling gel to her burns. You're an idiot, Ash said softly, his eyes focused on her wound. I know, Gloria whispered. She looked at his face. He wasn't angry. He looked scared. I just wanted to help. I wanted to show you I could handle the heavy hits. Ash paused. He looked up, his brown eyes locking onto hers. Gloria. Look at that thing. He pointed to the wreckage. That wasn't a Pokemon. You can't intimidate it. You can't outmuscle it. It was designed to kill gods. He finished bandaging her neck. His hand lingered on her cheek for a second, his thumb brushing away a smudge of dirt. I don't need a tank, Ash said, his voice dropping to a register that made Gloria's heart hammer against her ribs. I have Melmetal for that. I don't need a sword. I have Zacian. I need you. Gloria swallowed hard. To do what? To survive, Ash said. If that piston had hit you, if I had been a second slower. He looked away, the mask of the king slipping to reveal the terrified young man beneath. Don't make me bury you, Gloria. That's an order. Gloria reached out and took his hand. Her grip was iron strong. Understood, my king. From the shadows of the shrine entrance, Marnie watched them. Her face was unreadable, but she tightened her grip on her Morpeko. Hate to break up the moment, Marnie called out, her voice cutting through the tension. But you two need to see this. Ash and Gloria stood up, Gloria leaning slightly on Ash for a moment before regaining her balance, and walked to where Marnie stood. She was pointing at the base of the ancient altar, where the rusted sword and shield had originally been found. The stone was cracked open. Underneath the shrine wasn't solid earth. It was a hollow chamber. And inside the chamber was a device. It looked like a parasitic tick made of black metal, drilled into the glowing ley line of the earth. It was pulsing with a dark, violet light, sucking the golden energy of the Weald into a canister. They aren't just blocking the energy, Marnie said, scanning the device with her phone. They're harvesting it. This is a siphon. Ash stepped closer. The rusted sword in his hand suddenly flared with a weak, desperate light. It was reacting to the stolen energy. This is where the Galar particles come from, Ash realized. The source of Dynamax. Lysander is draining the region dry. If they drain it all. Gloria realized, horror dawning on her face. The ecosystem collapses, Ash finished. And they get enough power to nuke a continent. He raised the rusted sword. Lucario. Smash it. With pleasure, Lucario unleashed a force palm. The siphon shattered. A shockwave of golden light exploded outward, blowing the fog away from the clearing. The trees seemed to sigh in relief. The color returned to the grass in a widening circle. But as the device broke, a hologram flickered to life from its remains. It was a man. Tall, with hair like a lion's mane and a suit that cost more than Spikemetha's annual budget. Lysander Vaughn. The hologram flickered, blue and grainy. It was a pre-recorded message triggered by the device's destruction. "Congratulations," the hologram smiled. It was a charming, predatory smile. "If you are seeing this, you've managed to destroy Siphon Unit 4. I assume this is Ash Ketchum. Or perhaps the former champion." Ash stepped forward, his jaw set. "You think you've won a victory," the image continued. "But you've merely confirmed my hypothesis. You rely on the old power. The chaotic power. While you were playing in the woods, my king, did you check the sky?" The hologram faded. Ash looked up. Above the tree line, in the direction of Hammerlock, the sky wasn't blue. It was swirling with a dark, unnatural storm. A black beam of light was piercing the clouds, reaching down toward the earth. "Raihan," Ash breathed. "The jammed signal," Marnie said, her face pale. "They weren't jamming us to keep us out of the loop. They were jamming us so we wouldn't hear the distress call." Ash turned to the others. The tenderness from the medical moment was gone, replaced by cold, hard resolve. "Pack up," Ash commanded. "We're done here." "Where are we going?" Gloria asked, picking up her claymore. Ash recalled Surfetched and recalled the exhausted Urshifu for her. He looked north, toward the black storm. "Hammerlock has fallen," Ash said. "We're going to war." Chapter 2 End. Chapter 3, Night in Spikemouth. The transition from the ancient, rotting silence of the slumbering wheel to the claustrophobic noise of Spikemouth was jarring. It was like stepping out of a grave and into a rave that was slowly dying. The city was technically under lockdown, but Spikemouth didn't do lockdown like Wyndon. In the capital, lockdown meant empty streets and patrols. Here, it meant the blast doors were shut, the neon signs buzzed with an angry, frantic energy, and the people moved in tight, agitated packs. Ash, Marnie, and Gloria stood on a rusted gantry overlooking the main thoroughfare. The air smelled of ozone, frying oil, and desperation. "My home," Marnie said. Her voice was uncharacteristically soft, stripped of the royal polish she'd been forced to adopt at court. She leaned over the railing, watching a group of Team Yell grunts, now repurposed as the city militia, arguing with a merchant. "It looks like a cage." "It looks defensible," Ash corrected. He adjusted the collar of his coat. He had shed the heavy king's plate and the rusted shield, opting for a nondescript dark hoodie and combat trousers. Pikachu was hidden inside the hood, a warm weight against his neck. If the Aegis faction wants to move supplies to Hammerlock, they have to pass through here. The rail lines all converge under the city. And that's the problem. Marnie turned, her eyes reflecting the pink and blue neon from below. The rail yards are deep territory. Since Piers, since my brother left to join the front lines, the local gangs have gotten bold. Some of them are taking payoffs from Lysander's shell companies. Gloria cracked her knuckles, the sound loud in the damp air. She had ditched the heavy Corvinite armor for a leather vest and cargo pants, her claymore wrapped in a tarp on her back. "So we kick down the doors, find the rat, and beat the location out of him." "No," Marnie cut her off. "You start swinging that slab of iron around, and the whole city goes dark. We need to be surgical. We need to find the warehouse key without alerting the Aegis heavy guard." "How?" Ash asked. Marnie looked at him. A slow, dangerous smile spread across her face. "By reminding them who runs this town. But to do that, I need a champion. And not a king." The pit was a subterranean fighting ring located in the basement of a decommissioned power station. It was hot, loud, and smelled of sweat and spilled beer. A chain-link fence formed the arena. Inside, a Macamp was currently body-slamming a Toxicroak into the concrete while 300 people screamed for blood. Ash felt the atmosphere hit him like a physical wave. This wasn't the sterile, rule-bound combat of the gym challenge. This was raw. The man in the VIP box, Marnie whispered, nodding toward a glassed-in balcony overlooking the pit. Vinny, the vice. He controls the rail yard shift schedules. He knows what's moving in and out. I'll go talk to him, Ash said, moving toward the stairs. Marnie grabbed his arm. He doesn't talk to suits, Ash. And he definitely doesn't talk to the crown. He talks to winners. She pointed at the ring. The Macamp roared, raising two of its four arms in victory as the Toxicroak was dragged out. The challenger buys the drinks, Marnie explained. You want an audience? You have to earn it. Ash looked at the ring. He looked at the screaming crowd. A familiar spark ignited in his chest, the thrill of the challenge that no crown could ever suppress. He pulled his hood back. Pikachu is too recognizable. And too strong. If I use a thunderbolt, I blow our cover. Then do it the Spikemouth way, Marnie said. She handed him a dusk ball. Use mine. Ash took the ball. He felt the energy inside. Dark. Prankster. Grim snarl. Don't disappoint me, Marnie murmured. Ash vaulted the railing, landing in the concrete ring with a heavy thud. The crowd went silent for a split second, seeing the new challenger, before erupting into fresh jeers. Fresh meat, someone screamed. Look at him. Pretty boy thinks he's lost. The referee, a burly man with scars across his nose, stepped forward. No belts, no items, no crying. You got 'em on, kid. Ash enlarged the dusk ball. I'm good. And who are you challenging? Ash looked up at the glass box. He locked eyes with Vinny the Vice, a fat man smoking a cigar. Ash pointed directly at him. I'm not challenging a trainer, Ash shouted, his voice cutting through the noise. I'm challenging the house. The crowd gasped. Challenging the house meant fighting the champion, the Macamp, until one of them couldn't stand. Vinny leaned forward, intrigued. He pressed a button on his intercom. His voice boomed over the speakers. You got a death wish, boy. Butcher. Break him. The Macamp, Butcher, turned to Ash. It was massive, scar tissue layered over muscle. It cracked all four sets of knuckles. Ash released Grimmsnarl. The dark fairy materialized, lanky and sinister, its hair trailing on the ground. It looked at Ash, confused. It knew its mistress, and this wasn't her. Trust me, Ash whispered to the Pokémon. We dance on my lead. Fight. Butcher charged. It was fast for its size, closing the distance in a second, four fists winding up for a bullet punch flurry. Don't block. Ash commanded. Weave. Ash didn't stand back like a trainer. He moved with Grimmsnarl. As the Pokémon dodged left, Ash slid right. He was in the ring with them. Grimmsnarl ducked a haymaker that would have taken its head off. Spirit break. The knee. Grimmsnarl lashed out with a hair tendril, wrapping the Machamp's ankle and yanking. Butcher stumbled but recovered, spinning into a dynamic punch. Too slow, Ash grinned. The adrenaline was singing in his blood. He felt the flow of the battle, the micro-movements. Bulk up. Take the hit. The crowd screamed as Ash ordered his Pokémon to take a direct hit. Grimmsnarl braced, muscles swelling. The punch connected with its chest. Wham! Grimmsnarl slid back 10 feet, heels digging into the concrete, but didn't fall. It grinned, showing needle teeth. Now! Ash roared. False surrender. Grimmsnarl feigned a collapse, bowing its head. The Macamp, sensing victory, stepped in for the kill. Gotcha, Ash whispered. Grimmsnarl exploded upward, hair whipping out not to strike, but to blind. The tendrils wrapped around Machamp's face. In the confusion, the dark fairy swept the leg and drove an elbow into the Machamp's solar plexus. The giant fell. The ground shook. Silence. Ash stood over the fallen champion, chest heaving. He looked up at the glass box. "I'm thirsty," Ash called out. Vinny the Vice stared down, his cigar falling from his mouth. The crowd erupted, a deafening roar of approval. In the shadows near the exit, Gloria leaned against the wall, watching Ash. "He fights like a wild animal," she muttered, equal parts impressed and concerned. "No," Marnie corrected, her eyes fixed on Ash's silhouette. "He fights like he belongs here." 10 minutes later, they were in the VIP box. Vinny was sweating. He wasn't sweating because of the heat. He was sweating because Marnie had just put a boot on his throat. I didn't know he was with you, Miss Marnie." Vinny stammered, pinned to his leather chair. "I thought you were in Winden, playing dress-up with the royals." "I'm back," Marnie said coldly, pressing the heel of her boot harder. "And I don't like what I'm seeing, Vinny. Aegis Tech moving through my station. On your watch." "I had no choice." Vinny wheezed. "They have things. Monsters. Not Pokemon. Metal things. They said they'd burn the depot down if I didn't clear the tracks." "Where is the shipment?" Ash asked, leaning over the desk. He was still pumped from the fight, his presence intimidating. "Warehouse 4, Vinny gasped. "The old cannery." "But don't go there. It's a slaughterhouse. They're processing them." "Processing who?" Gloria stepped forward, hand on her sword. "The strays," Vinny whispered. "The electric types. They need batteries." Ash's face went dark. Pikachu, sensing his anger, sparked on his shoulder. "Let's go," Ash said. Marnie removed her boot. "If you warn them, Vinny, I'll feed you to my Morpeko. And he hasn't eaten all day." Warehouse 4 sat on the edge of the docks, a hulking rusted beast in the rain. They approached from the roof. Gloria used her grappling hook to hoist them up. They moved silently across the corrugated metal, peering through a skylight. What they saw made Gloria retch. Below, the warehouse floor was lined with cages. Hundreds of them. Inside were electric-type Pokemon, Pikachu, Electrike, Toxel, Helioptile. They were hooked up to machines, wires clamped to their cheeks and bodies. The machines were pulsing, draining their electricity and funneling it into glowing purple canisters. Null energy. Patrolling the floor were guards in tactical gear, accompanied by 2 of the bipedal mechs Ash had fought in the Weald. "They're draining them to death," Ash whispered, his voice trembling with fury. "To charge the null weapons. We can't just drop in," Marnie assessed, her tactical mind working over her anger. 2 mechs. 20 guards. Crossfire would hit the cages. "I'll draw the fire," Gloria said, reaching for her claymore. "No," Ash said. He pulled a poke ball from his belt. "We need a blackout." He looked at Marnie. "Can Grimmsnarl carry Pikachu to the junction box on the far wall?" Without being seen. Marnie calculated the distance. "It's risky." "The sensors." "Use the rafters," Ash said. "I'll create a distraction." "What distraction?" Ash stood up. He didn't summon a Pokemon. He simply smashed the skylight with his boot and jumped. Crash. He landed on top of a shipping container in the center of the room. Glass rained down around him. Every gun and sensor in the room snapped to him. "Hey!" Ash yelled, spreading his arms. "I hear you guys are looking for a battery." "It's the king," a guard shouted. "Open fire. Now, Marnie!" Ash screamed. As the bullets began to fly, Ash dove behind the container. At the same moment, a shadow detached itself from the ceiling. Grimmsnarl, carrying Pikachu, swung through the darkness. Pikachu landed on the main fuse box. He didn't just overload it, he poured every ounce of his rage into it. Choo! The warehouse exploded into sparks. The lights died. The draining machines whined and shut down. In the pitch black, the tactical advantage shifted. Gloria! Go! Gloria dropped from the roof like a Valkyrie, her claymore glowing with the faint light of the steel beam move she had taught herself to channel. She cleaved through the rifle of the nearest guard. Ash moved through the dark. He didn't need light. He had aura. He sensed the guards' fear. He sensed their positions. He moved like a ghost. A sweep of the leg here, a palm strike there. He wasn't killing them, but he was breaking bones. He reached the nearest cage, a group of Toxel. He ripped the lock off with his bare hands. Run, he told them. The mechs activated their emergency floodlights, sweeping the room. Targets acquired, the synthesized voice droned. One mech locked onto Ash. It raised its cannon. Suddenly, a massive, dark fist materialized from the shadows and punched the mech's head clean off. Marnie stood atop a stack of crates, her grim snarl panting beside her. Her eyes were glowing with a terrifying intensity. "Get out of my city," she hissed. The fight was brutal and short. With the lights out and the Pokémon freed, the guards panicked. The freed Electrics and Pikachus joined the fray, sparking wildly. The guards routed, fleeing into the night. Ash stood in the center of the chaos, surrounded by shivering, traumatized Pokémon. He knelt down, checking a Pikachu that was barely breathing. "It's okay," he whispered, stroking its ears. "You're safe." Ash. Gloria called out from the office level. "We found the manifest. The train leaves for Hammerlock in 20 minutes. This was the last load." "We have to stop that train," Ash said, standing up. "We can't," Marnie said, appearing beside him. She looked at the wounded Pokémon. "We can't leave them. The local center is understaffed. They need medical attention now, or half of them will die." Ash looked at the train tracks outside, then at the suffering creatures. It was the choice of a king. The mission or the people. "Gloria," Ash said. "Go to the station. Disable the tracks. Buy us time." "Solo." Gloria grinned. "Easy." "Marnie," Ash turned to her. "Call Team Yell. Get a transport. We're moving these guys to the safe house." "And you?" "I'm carrying him," Ash said, scooping up the critical Pikachu. "He's not gonna make it if I don't share my aura with him." The safe house was a hidden bunker under the Spikemouth gym. It was cramped, filled with old concert posters and beanbag chairs, Marnie's childhood hideaway. Now, it was a triage center. Ash sat in the corner, pale and sweating. He was holding the sick Pikachu against his chest, a faint blue glow passing from his hands into the Pokémon. He was feeding it his own life force. Marnie moved efficiently, bandaging Toxel and dispensing potions. Once the crisis settled, the room went quiet. The rescued Pokémon were sleeping in piles of blankets. Marnie walked over to Ash. He looked exhausted. The blue glow faded as the wild Pikachu stabilized, breathing deeply in sleep. "You're an idiot," Marnie said. She sat on the floor opposite him, her knees touching his. Ash chuckled weakly, leaning his head back against the wall. "I hear that a lot lately." "You can't save everyone with your own soul, Ash," Marnie said. Her voice was devoid of its usual cool detachment. It was thick with emotion. "You're the king of Galar. If you burn out, the region falls." "I'm not a king right now," Ash murmured, eyes closed. "I'm just a trainer. And a trainer doesn't leave a Pokémon behind." Marnie watched him. She saw the dirt on his face, the bruise on his jaw from the fight, the trembling of his hands from aura exhaustion. She reached out and took his hand. her fingers laced with his. Ash opened his eyes. "Why do you do it?" Marnie asked. "Why do you take the weight? You could have stayed in Kanto. You could have been a legend that people read about. Why come here and bleed for us?" "Because you called," Ash said simply. Marnie's breath hitched. "When the chairman fell, when Leon fell." "I saw the news," Ash said, his thumb brushing her knuckles. "I saw you trying to hold Spikemouth together. I saw Gloria fighting in the wind in panic. I didn't come for the throne, Marnie. I came for my friends." Marnie stared at him. For years, she had built walls. Spikemouth was a wall. Her leather jacket was a wall. Her stoic expression was a wall. Ash walked through them like they weren't even there. "You're dangerous," Marnie whispered. She leaned in closer. The space between them charged with an electricity that had nothing to do with Pokemon. "You make people believe that the world is kind. And that's a dangerous lie." "It's not a lie," Ash whispered. He didn't pull away. Marnie closed the distance. She didn't kiss him, not yet. She pressed her forehead against his. It was an intimate, grounding gesture. She breathed in his scent, rain, ozone, and sweat. "Don't die on me, Ash Ketchum," she murmured against his skin. "I've spent too long cleaning up this city to let you leave me alone in it." Ash's hand squeezed hers. "I'm not going anywhere." The door to the bunker slammed open. They broke apart instantly. Gloria stood there, drenched in rain, chest heaving, looking like she had just run a marathon. "Bad news." Gloria panted, oblivious to the tension she had just interrupted. "I blew the tracks, but the train didn't stop." Ash stood up, the fatigue vanishing instantly. "What?" "It didn't stop." Gloria yelled. "It's a hover train. Aegis Tech. It just floated over the wreckage. It's heading for Hammerlock, and it's carrying enough null energy to erase a mountain." Ash looked at Marnie. The moment was gone, replaced by the war. "How long until it hits the city?" Ash asked. 1 hour, Gloria said. "And Raihan isn't answering." Ash grabbed his coat. "Then we catch it." "Catch it?" Marnie asked. "Ash, it's moving at 300 miles per hour." Ash whistled. From the shadows, his Dragonite emerged, sleepy but ready. "We don't need to catch it," Ash said, his eyes hardening into steel. "We just need to board it." He looked at his two queens. "Ready for a ride?" Marnie zipped up her jacket, hiding the flush on her cheeks. Gloria hefted her claymore. "Always," they said in unison. Ash turned to the door. Chapter 3 was over. Chapter 4 was going to be a derailment. Chapter 3 end. Chapter 4, the betrayal at Knuckle City. The wind at 5,000 feet didn't just howl, it screamed. Ash clung to Dragonite's neck, his goggles pressed tight against his face to keep his eyes from watering in the biting cold. Below them, the Galar countryside was a blur of dark greens and grays, swallowed by the night. But cutting through the darkness like a scar of violet fire was the train. It was a maglev beast, levitating on a cushion of null energy, tearing toward the walled city of Hammerlock at impossible speeds. "He can't keep this pace up," Gloria shouted over the gale. She was clinging to Dragonite's left flank, her claymore strapped tight to her back. Dragonite's wings are icing over. Ash felt the tremors in the dragon's muscles. Dragonite was pushing past his limit, his inner fire struggling against the unnatural cold radiating from the train below. "One pass." Ash yelled back. "We only get one pass." "Marnie, are you ready?" On the right flank, Marnie adjusted her grip. She wasn't holding on to Dragonite, she was held by Grim Snarl, who was anchored to the dragon's scales with tendrils of hair. "Drop us on the engine block. If we sever the connection to the rear cars, the cargo stops." "Do it," Ash commanded. Dragonite. Dive. Dragon rush. The orange dragon folded his wings. A blue aura of draconic energy enveloped them, shielding them from the wind shear. They dropped like a meteor. The ground rushed up to meet them. The train grew from a toy to a metal leviathan in seconds. Jump. They released their grip at 200 feet. Ash free fell for a heart-stopping second before landing in a roll on the curved metal roof of the speeding train. The magnetic dampeners in his boots, a gift from Clement years ago, locked onto the hull. Clang. He skidded, sparks flying, stopping inches from the edge. Gloria landed hard beside him, using her claymore to stab into the metal roof as an anchor. Marnie landed with cat-like grace, grim snarl absorbing the impact with its hair. Contact. Gloria roared. The roof hatches hissed open. Drone sentries, floating orbs with red eyes, poured out like angry hornets. Pikachu. Iron Tail. Ash didn't wait. He sprinted forward, the wind threatening to tear him off the roof. Pikachu leaped from his shoulder, tail glowing metallic silver, and sliced a drone in half before it could charge its laser. Keep moving. Ash ordered. Don't let them pin us down. They fought their way toward the engine. It was a chaotic ballet at 300 miles per hour. Gloria was a whirlwind, her heavy blade acting as a shield against laser fire, batting drones out of the sky. Marnie was the sniper, her Morpeko darting in and out of vents to disable the drone docking ports from the inside. Ash. Marnie yelled, pointing ahead. The coupling. It's shielded. Between the engine and the cargo cars, a shimmering hexagonal barrier blocked the way. A null field. We can't cut it. Gloria shouted, deflecting a plasma bolt. It eats energy. Ash looked at the barrier, then at the horizon. The spires of Hammerlock were visible now, looming like jagged teeth against a sky that was swirling with a terrified, bruised purple. We don't have time to cut it, Ash gritted his teeth. Hold on to something. Why? Marnie's eyes widened. Because we're not stopping the train, Ash grabbed a railing. We're crashing it. Are you insane? Gloria laughed, a frantic, manic sound. Dragonite. Ash screamed at the sky. Hyper beam. On the tracks. Directly ahead. High above, Dragonite roared. A beam of destructive orange energy slammed into the maglev rail a mile ahead of the train. The rail vaporized. Brace. The train hit the brake in the track. The anti-grav engines screamed. The nose of the train dipped, catching the earth. The entire locomotive went airborne. For a moment, they were weightless. Then, the world turned into noise and violence. Ash woke up tasting ash. He was lying in a crater of twisted metal and churned earth. The fires of the wreckage illuminated the massive stone walls of Hammerlock, which towered directly above them. They had crashed right at the gates of the city. Ash. Gloria was pulling him up. She was limping, her face smeared with soot, but her eyes were fierce. Get up. We have a welcoming party. Ash stumbled to his feet, rusted sword in hand. He looked around. Marnie was already up, her grim snarl holding a defensive line against a squad of Aegis troopers emerging from the smoke. But the troopers weren't attacking them. They were looking up. The gates of Hammerlock opened. Out marched a Duraludon, towering and majestic, though its chrome plating was scorched and dented. Standing on its shoulder, looking like a dragon in human form, was Raihan. He looked terrible. His signature hoodie was torn, his bandana missing. A bloody bandage was wrapped around his midsection. But his grin was still there, the grin of a man who loved a fight, even if it was his last. Took you long enough, champ. Raihan's voice boomed, amplified by the Duraludon's resonance. I was starting to think I'd have to save the world by myself. Raihan. Ash ran forward, ignoring the pain in his ribs. The Aegis troopers fell back, intimidated by the arrival of the dragon tamer. They retreated into the darkness of the surrounding siege lines. Raihan slid down from his Pokémon, landing heavily. He winced, clutching his side. "You look like hell," Ash said, stopping before him. "You should see the other guys," Raihan coughed, spitting pink foam. Lysander brought the heavy toys. "We've been holding the main gate for 3 days. No sleep. No supplies. The null fields are suppressing the Dynamax spots. I can't Gigantamax Duraludon." "We brought the cavalry," Gloria said, gesturing to the wreckage of the train. "Or, well, we brought ourselves." "That'll have to do." Raihan looked at the sky. The vortex above the energy plant was widening. "He's inside, Ash. In the vault. He's hooked up to the core. He's trying to awaken Eternatus." "Again?" Marnie asked, stepping up. "Why?" "He doesn't want to control it," Raihan said darkly. "He wants to kill it. He thinks if he kills the source of the particles, he frees humanity. But if he kills a cosmic entity like that, the energetic backlash will turn Galar into a crater." Ash looked at the castle. He could feel the pulse of the dragon deep underground. It was waking up. And it was angry. "We push to the vault," Ash said. "Raihan, can you clear the courtyard?" Raihan grinned, thumbing a pokeball. "I'm the dragon tamer. I eat courtyards for breakfast." "Flygon." "Sandstorm." He released his Flygon. The desert dragon whipped up a blinding sandstorm, masking their movement from the snipers on the battlements. "Move!" Ash commanded. They charged into the city. Hammerlock was a war zone. The beautiful cobblestone streets were cratered. Buildings were burning. But amidst the ruin, the gym trainers of Hammerlock were fighting tooth and nail against the robotic soldiers of Aegis. They reached the central plaza leading to the energy plant. "Clear!" Gloria shouted, cleaving a robot in two. "Hold the line here." Raihan ordered his trainers. "Don't let them flank us. The king is going inside." Ash turned to Raihan. "You're coming with us." "Nah," Raihan shook his head. He turned his back to Ash, facing the oncoming wave of enemy reinforcements. "Someone has to hold the door. Go, Ash. Show them why you wear the crown." Ash hesitated. He felt a spike of cold dread in his aura. "Raihan, wait," Ash started. Boom. The sound wasn't an explosion. It was the crack of a high-velocity railgun. Raihan's body jerked violently forward. He fell to his knees. A hole the size of a fist had been punched through his chest, right through the dragon emblem on his back. "No!" Ash screamed. Time seemed to slow down. Raihan looked down at his chest, confused. He coughed, blood pouring from his mouth. He looked back, not at the enemy, but at the battlements above the gate. Standing there, holding a smoking long rifle, was not an enemy soldier. It was General Holloway, the head of the Galar Defense Force. A man who had sworn fealty to Ash 2 weeks ago. "Target down," Holloway spoke into his comms, his face impassive. "The dragon has fallen." "Traitor!" Gloria shrieked. She didn't think. She grabbed a rock and hurled it with hysterical strength, but it fell uselessly short. Raihan collapsed face first into the dirt. Duraludon let out a sound that wasn't a roar, it was a keen of pure grief. Ash was at Raihan's side in an instant. He turned him over. The light in the dragon tamer's eyes was fading fast. "Raihan," Ash gasped, pressing his hands to the wound, trying to push aura into it. But the wound was cauterized by null energy. It repelled his healing. "Stay with me." Raihan smiled. His teeth were stained red. "Didn't see that one coming. Save your strength." Ash, Raihan whispered. He reached up, gripping Ash's collar with a trembling hand. Don't let them win. You're the wolf. King. His hand went slack. The greatest rival Ash had ever known in Galar lay still. A silence descended on the plaza. Even the enemy droid seemed to pause. Then, the silence broke. Ash didn't scream. He didn't cry. He stood up. The air around him began to distort. Small rocks started to float off the ground. The rusted sword in his hand began to vibrate, shedding flakes of rust to reveal a gleaming, cyan edge. Marnie, Ash said. His voice was unrecognizable. It was hollow, devoid of humanity. Ash? Marnie stepped back, frightened by the pressure radiating from him. Take Gloria. Get inside the plant. We're not leaving you. Gloria yelled, tears streaming down her soot-stained face. Get inside. Ash roared. The force of his shout created a physical shockwave that pushed the girls toward the plant entrance. General Holloway. Ash looked up at the battlements. The general flinched. He was 500 yards away, but he felt the gaze like a physical weight. You wanted a war. Ash whispered, the aura around him turning from blue to a violent, jagged indigo. I'll give you a war. The ground beneath Ash exploded. He didn't run. He launched. Ash Ketchum, the boy from Pallet Town, vanished. In his place was a blur of blue light. He scaled the vertical wall of the castle in 3 leaps. Holloway panicked. Fire. All units, fire on the target. Lasers rained down. Ash didn't dodge. He swatted them aside with the rusted sword, moving with a speed that defied physics. He crested the wall. Holloway drew his sidearm, but before he could raise it, Ash's hand was around his throat. Ash lifted the general off the ground, dangling him over the burning city. Why? Ash asked. His eyes were glowing blue. Order. Holloway choked out. The world needs order. Not monsters. The only monster here, Ash said, his voice trembling with suppressed rage, is you. He threw the general back onto the ramparts, knocking him unconscious. He wouldn't kill him. Not like this. He would face justice. But the delay had cost him. Impressive, a smooth voice echoed through the plaza. Ash turned. Floating down from the central tower, encased in a personal gravity field, was Lysander Vaughn. He was immaculate. His suit was untouched by the dust of war. Beside him floated a pokeball unlike any Ash had seen, black, with red circuitry. You have spirit, boy, Lysander said, landing softly in the courtyard below. But spirit is just chemical reactions. Predictable. Ash leaped down, landing between Lysander and the entrance where Gloria and Marnie had retreated. You killed him, Ash said. The rusted sword pointed at Lysander's heart. I removed an obstacle, Lysander corrected. Raihan represented the old chaos. The reliance on beasts. He gestured to the surrounding destruction. Look at this, Ash. We are fighting a war with magical creatures. It is barbaric. I offer a clean slate. A world where humanity stands on its own. By killing everything that makes us human. Ash spat. Pokemon aren't tools. They're partners. They are crutches. Lysander snapped. He threw the black ball. Go, Registeel. The Titan emerged. But it wasn't the Registeel Ash knew. This one was dark chrome. Its red dots were purple. And it was humming with a sickening, inverted energy. Corrupted Registeel, Lysander smiled. It absorbs aura. Your greatest strength is now your battery. Lucario. Ash called. Lucario materialized, sensing the threat. He launched an aura sphere. The Registeel didn't block. It simply absorbed the sphere into its chest. It grew larger, the metal groaning as it expanded. It feeds on energy, Lysander laughed. Physical attacks only. Surfetched. Dragonite. Dracovish. Ash emptied his belt. The team charged. It was a massacre. Registeel was too durable. It swatted Dragonite out of the air. It caught Surfetched's lance and snapped it. Dracovish's jaws couldn't pierce the null armor. Enough, Lysander said. Registeel. Lock down. The Titan slammed its hands into the ground. A cage of black energy erupted from the earth, trapping Ash's Pokémon. They screamed as the cage began to drain them. Ash stood alone. He had the sword. He had Pikachu. Pikachu, stay back, Ash ordered. Pika. He'll drain you too. This is my fight. Ash charged. He wielded the rusted sword with the skill of a master, dodging Registeel's crushing blows. He slashed at the Titan's legs, striking sparks. But the metal was too hard. The rusted sword chipped. Registeel backhanded Ash. The blow felt like being hit by a truck. Ash flew across the plaza, smashing into a stone fountain. The impact cracked the stone. He lay there, gasping for air. His ribs were definitely broken. The world was spinning. Lysander walked over, looming above him. The Wolf King, Lysander sneered. Without your pack, you're just a stray dog. He placed a boot on Ash's chest, pressing down on the broken ribs. Ash cried out. I'm going to go into that vault, Lysander said, pointing to the door behind him. I'm going to kill Eternatus. And when the dust settles, I will build a new world on your grave. He kicked the rusted sword away. It skittered across the stones, landing in a puddle of muddy water. Finish him, Lysander ordered Registeel. The Titan raised its massive metal arm for a hammer blow that would flatten Ash into paste. Ash looked at the sword. It was out of reach. He looked at his Pokémon, trapped and dying in the cage. He looked at the door where Gloria and Marnie were waiting. I can't die, Ash thought. The panic was gone. Replaced by a cold, absolute clarity. I promised them. He closed his eyes. He didn't reach for aura. He reached deeper. Past the aura. Past the friendship. He reached into the history of the land itself. He reached for the king that had come before. Zacian. In the puddle, the rusted sword didn't just glow. It screamed. A beam of pure, blinding cyan light erupted from the blade, piercing the clouds. Lysander shielded his eyes. What? The sword flew through the air, pulled by an invisible magnet, slapping into Ash's hand. But Ash didn't stand up. The spectral form of the great wolf, Zacian, superimposed itself over Ash's body. It was huge, ethereal, and terrified of nothing. Ash opened his eyes. They weren't brown. They were gold. Ancient power, Lysander gasped, stepping back. Bond phenomenon. With a legend? Ash stood up. The pain was gone. He felt the weight of the sword, but it felt light as a feather. He felt the armor of the Wolf King forming around him, not metal, but solidified light. Registeel. Lysander shrieked. Crush him. The Titan brought its fist down. Ash didn't dodge. He caught the fist. With one hand. The ground beneath him cracked, but Ash didn't budge. The spectral jaws of Zacian manifested around his arm, biting into the Registeel's metal. You rely on machines, Ash spoke. His voice was layered, a double harmonic of human and wolf. You forgot that iron has a soul. Ash pushed. Registeel, a creature weighing tons, was thrown backward as if it were a doll. Ash raised the sword. The blade extended, becoming the behemoth blade, 20 feet of golden energy. Sacred sword, Ash whispered. He swung. It wasn't a cut. It was a cleavage of reality. The beam of light bisected the corrupted registeel. The titan froze. Then, slowly, the two halves slid apart. The black energy inside dissipated with a mournful wail. The cage holding Ash's Pokémon shattered. Lysander stared at his destroyed god-killer. For the first time, the arrogant mask cracked. He looked at Ash with genuine fear. "What are you?" Lysander whispered. Ash lowered the sword. The spectral wolf faded, leaving him panting, blood dripping from his mouth, his body trembling from the immense strain of channeling a god. "I'm the champion," Ash said. Lysander scowled. He tapped a button on his wrist. "This isn't over." A teleporter beam engulfed him. He vanished. Ash stood in the silent plaza. The adrenaline crashed. The connection to Zacian severed abruptly, leaving him feeling like his nerves were on fire. Ash. Gloria and Marnie ran out from the vault entrance. Ash turned to them. He tried to smile. His eyes rolled back. He collapsed forward. Gloria caught him before he hit the ground. He was burning up, his skin fever hot. "He pushed it too far," Marnie said, checking his pulse. "His heart rate is erratic. The bond, it nearly killed him." "We have to get him to safety," Gloria said, lifting him up effortlessly, her tears mixing with the rain. "Where?" Marnie asked. "Hammerlock is a ruin." "The Isle of Armor," Gloria said, looking at the dark sky. "Mustard will know what to do. We hide. We heal." She looked back at the spot where Raihan had fallen. And then, Gloria whispered, her voice trembling with a dark, terrible promise, "We come back. And we kill them all." Chapter 4 End. Chapter 5, The King's Recovery. The Isle of Armor smelled of salt, wet bamboo, and medicinal herbs boiling in heavy iron pots. It was a place of discipline and peace, a stark contrast to the smoking ruin of Hammerlock they had left behind 3 days ago. But there was no peace in the master dojo today. Gloria paced the wooden floor of the infirmary, the sound of her boots echoing like a metronome of anxiety. She had scrubbed the soot from her face, but the shadows under her eyes were dark bruises of exhaustion. "Will you stop?" Marnie asked. She sat in the corner, a laptop balanced on her knees, her fingers flying across the keys. She looked composed, but the hem of her leather skirt was frayed where she had been picking at it for hours. "I can't stop," Gloria snapped, turning on her heel. "He hasn't moved, Marnie. It's been 72 hours. Mustard said the fever broke, but he's just lying there." She gestured to the futon in the center of the room. Ash lay under a thick quilt, pale and still. His chest rose and fell in a shallow, fragile rhythm. Pikachu was curled into a ball against his neck, refusing to move, refusing to eat. "He channeled a god," Marnie said, her voice steady but tight. "Without a conduit. He short-circuited his own life force. If he wakes up at all, it will be a miracle." "Don't say that," Gloria warned, her hand drifting to where her sword usually hung. "He's Ash. He doesn't die. He just gets angry and wins. He's not a cartoon character, Gloria. He's a human being." Marnie closed the laptop with a snap. "And right now, that human being is the only thing holding the Galar alliance together. I've been fielding calls from B and Gordy all morning. The South is panicking. They heard about Raihan. The name hung in the air like smoke." Gloria stopped pacing. She leaned against the wall, sliding down until she hit the floor. She buried her face in her hands. "I should have been faster," she whispered. "If I hadn't been playing with those droids, I could have covered him." "Raihan made his choice," Marnie said softly. She got up and walked over, sitting beside Gloria. It was an unnatural proximity for them, the street punk and the brawler, but the war had eroded their boundaries. He held the door. You can't steal his sacrifice by making it your failure. Gloria looked up, her eyes red. We're losing, Marnie. Lysander has the capital. He has the energy plant. We're hiding on an island eating soup while he rewrites history. We aren't hiding, Marnie corrected. We're regrouping. And when he wakes up. She nodded toward Ash. We figure out how to cut the head off the snake. The sliding door opened. Master Mustard shuffled in. The old man looked jovial as always, but his eyes, sharp and hidden under bushy eyebrows, were serious. He carried a steaming bowl of broth. Still guarding the cub, I see, Mustard chuckled, though there was no humor in it. Good. A king needs his queens. He's not our king right now, Gloria muttered. He's a patient. He is always the king, Mustard said. He knelt by the futon. And it seems the king is done sleeping. On the futon, Ash's eyelids fluttered. Gloria was on her feet instantly. Marnie froze. Ash drew a breath, a ragged, hitching gasp, and opened his eyes. They weren't glowing blue anymore. They were brown, confused, and filled with pain. Raihan, he rasped. The silence in the room was the only answer he needed. Ash closed his eyes again. A single tear leaked out, tracking through the sweat on his temple. I couldn't save him. Ash, Gloria whispered, kneeling beside him. She took his hand. It was cold. You saved us. You saved the rest of us. Ash squeezed her hand, weak as a kitten. He tried to sit up, but his arms trembled and gave out. He fell back, frustration flashing across his face. My aura, Ash murmured. It's quiet. I can't feel Pikachu. I can't feel you. You burned it out, Mustard said, spooning broth and holding it to Ash's lips. You forced a connection with the hero of many battles. Your spiritual circuits are fried, boy. It will take time to recharge. We don't have time, Ash tried to push the spoon away. Lysander. Lysander isn't here, Marnie said firmly, stepping into his line of sight. You are. And you're useless to us if you can't stand up. Drink the soup, Ash. Ash looked at Marnie. He saw the steel in her gaze, the same steel that held Spikemouth together. He opened his mouth and swallowed the bitter medicine. Good, Mustard nodded. Now, rest. Tomorrow, the rehabilitation begins. And it will hurt. Mustard wasn't lying. The next morning, the sun was bright enough to blind, reflecting off the ocean. Ash stood on the sandy beach behind the dojo, wearing borrowed training GI pants and a loose shirt. He felt lightheaded. Without his aura, his sixth sense, the world felt flat. Two-dimensional. Again. Gloria barked. She stood 10 feet away, holding a padded sparring staff. Ash raised his own staff. Gloria, I'm barely vertical. Lysander won't care if you're vertical or horizontal, she retorted. She lunged. It was a basic sweep. Before, Ash would have sensed the air displacement. He would have moved before she even twitched. Now, he saw it too late. The staff cracked against his shin. Ash buckled, falling into the sand. Damn it. Ash punched the sand, grit flying. I can't see it coming. I'm blind. You have eyes, don't you? Gloria threw her staff down and marched over. She grabbed the front of his shirt and hauled him up. Stop looking with your magic and start looking with your eyes, Ash. Watch my shoulders. Watch my feet. I'm not a fighter like you. Ash shouted back, his frustration boiling over. I'm a commander. I use aura to sink. Without it, I'm just a kid from Pallet Town. That kid from Pallet Town beat me, Gloria shouted, nose to nose with him. That kid climbed the rankings. That kid is the one I. She stopped, her breath catching. She shoved him back, creating space. You think you're weak because you lost your power? You're weak because you're scared. You're scared that without the special effects, you're not enough. Ash stared at her. The wind whipped her hair across her face. She looked fierce, beautiful, and terrifying. Prove me wrong, Gloria challenged. She picked up her staff and tossed him his. Come on, Ash. Just you and me. No Pokemon. No aura. Just sweat. Ash gripped the wood. The texture was rough against his palm. He looked at Gloria's stance, her weight shifted forward, her left shoulder dipped slightly. Watch the shoulders, she had said. She lunged again. This time, Ash didn't reach out with his mind. He watched her muscle tense. He stepped to the side, pivoting on his heel. The staff missed him by an inch. He swung a counterstrike. Gloria blocked it effortlessly, grinning. Better, she said. Again. They spared for hours. Ash fell a dozen times. He earned bruises on his ribs, his arms, his legs. But every time he fell, Gloria waited for him to get up. She didn't offer a hand. She offered a challenge. By noon, Ash was covered in sand and sweat, his lungs burning. But the heaviness in his chest, the guilt, the grief, felt lighter. He collapsed onto the sand, chest heaving. Gloria sat down next to him, uncorking a water skin. You hit hard, Ash wheezed, taking the water. Scottish love language, Gloria shrugged. She looked out at the ocean. I was terrified, you know. When you went down in the plaza. Ash lowered the water. I know. I heard you. Gloria looked at him, surprised. You were unconscious. I heard you, Ash repeated softly. You called me back. You and Marnie. Gloria looked away, her cheeks flushing slightly darker than her sunburn. Don't let it go to your head, Your Majesty. I just didn't want to explain to your mom why I lost her son. Ash chuckled. It was the first time he had laughed in weeks. He bumped his shoulder against hers. Thanks, Gloria. For pushing me. Anytime, she whispered. She leaned her head on his shoulder, just for a moment, letting the silence of the ocean wash over them. While Gloria handled the body, Marnie handled the mind. That evening, Ash sat on the veranda of the dojo. The sun was setting, painting the sky in purples and oranges that reminded him too much of Leon's Charizard. Marnie sat opposite him across a low table. A go board was set up between them. You're losing, Marnie noted dryly. I don't even know how to play this, Ash admitted, placing a black stone at random. That's why you're losing, Marnie captured 3 of his stones. War isn't a Pokemon battle, Ash. In a battle, you react. You adapt. In war, if you're reacting, you're already dead. You need to predict. She pointed to the board. Lysander is here. She pointed to a cluster of white stones. He controls the center. Windin. The power source. And we're here, Ash pointed to a single black stone on the edge. Cornered. Cornered is a perspective, Marnie said. From the edge, you can see the whole board. Lysander is arrogant. He thinks he's won. He's consolidated his forces in the major cities. She placed a stone deep in Ash's territory, but it didn't capture anything. It just sat there. What's that? Ash asked. That, Marnie said, her dark eyes locking onto his, is the people. She pulled up a holographic map on her device. While you were sleeping, I wasn't just worrying. I was broadcasting. Broadcasting? Pirate radio. Spikemouth frequency, Marnie allowed a small, proud smile. I told them what happened. I told them about the null energy. I told them Raihan died defending them. Ash's eyes widened. And the region is angry, Ash, Marnie said. The miners in the Galar mine have gone on strike. The dockworkers in Holbury are refusing to unload Aegis ships. It's not an army, but it's friction. Lysander's supply lines are choking. She leaned forward. You have the hearts of the people. You always have. Lysander has fear. Fear breaks. Loyalty bends. Ash looked at the map. He saw the pockets of resistance lighting up. Small fires in the dark. I need to talk to them, Ash said. Not yet, Marnie said. They need to see a king, not a casualty. You heal first. She reached across the table, her hand resting over his on the board. We're a triad, Ash. Gloria is the sword, she strikes. I am the shield, I protect the backlands. And you? I'm the trainer, Ash finished. You're the crown, Marnie corrected. You give us direction. Without you, Gloria is just violence and I am just shadows. You make us whole. The intensity of her gaze was different from Gloria's fire. It was a gravitational pull. Ash felt himself leaning in. Marnie. Don't, she whispered, though she didn't pull back. Not until we win. If you kiss me now, I might not let you leave this island. And we have to leave. Ash smiled, a sad, weary smile. Deal. The peace broke the next morning. A distinct, psychic sound echoed through the dojo. Teleport. Avery, the psychic gym leader and rival from the dojo, materialized in the courtyard. He looked frantic, his top hat askew. Master Mustard. Avery yelled, running toward the porch where Ash, Gloria, and Marnie were eating breakfast. Emergency. Major energy spikes. Calm down, boy, Mustard said, sipping tea. Panic ruins digestion. There is no time for digestion. Avery threw a tablet onto the table. Look at the readings. The Crown Tundra. Ash grabbed the tablet. The map of the southern tundra was pulsating red. What is this? Ash asked. It's the birds, Avery panted. The Galarian legendary birds. Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres. They've been agitated. Agitated? Gloria asked. Hunted, Avery corrected. Lysander's elite units. They aren't trying to kill them. They're hurting them. They're driving them toward the Dyna tree. Why? Marnie asked. Ash stared at the screen. The strategy clicked into place. Marnie's Go board lessons. The Dyna tree connects to the deep ley lines, Ash said, his voice cold. If he corrupts the tree with null energy while the birds are there, he creates a bomb, Marnie realized. A biological bomb made of legendary energy. He can wipe out the entire southern hemisphere of Galar. Ash stood up. The stiffness in his limbs was forgotten. The doubt was gone. How is your team? Ash asked Gloria. Intelion is patched up. Zacian is, resting, but ready, she replied, standing up with him. Marnie. Morpeko is fed. Grimmsnarl is itching for a rematch, she confirmed. Ash looked at Mustard. Master. We need a ride. Mustard stood up, his height seeming to increase as he straightened his back. The frail old man vanished, replaced by the former champion. The armor taxi is too slow, Mustard grinned. And you'll freeze in those clothes. He whistled. From the back of the dojo, Honey, the matron, walked out carrying 3 sets of heavy, fur-lined winter gear. I knew you wouldn't stay long, Honey sighed, handing Ash a white coat with red trim. You have that look in your eye. The same look Leon had. "We're coming back," Ash promised, putting on the coat. It was heavy, warm. Armor against the cold. "Take the boat to the station," Mustard said. "I've arranged a special transport. A Corviknight flight capable of high-altitude travel. It will drop you in the freezing ton drop zone." Ash strapped the rusted sword to his waist. He looked at his two companions. Gloria, in her heavy wool and armor, looking like a warrior of the north, Marnie, in sleek, insulated tactical gear, looking like a shadow in the snow. "This is it," Ash said. "We go to the tundra. We save the birds. We stop the bomb. And then?" Gloria asked. "Then we go home," Ash said, his brown eyes hard as flint. "And we take our kingdom back." As they walked to the docks, the wind picked up, carrying the scent of snow and war. Ash felt a phantom sensation in his hand, the pulse of aura. It was faint, a mere whisper, but it was there. The wolf was waking up. Chapter 5 End. Chapter 6, The Frozen Tundra Expedition. The drop zone was a white void. There was no horizon, no sky, and no ground, only a swirling vortex of ice and wind that screamed like a banshee. The Corviknight transport had banked hard at 10,000 feet, unable to fight the thermal inversions, and dropped them into the heart of the Crown Tundra's worst blizzard in a century. Ash hit the snowpack rolling. The powder was deep, waist-high, and instantly numbing. "Sound off!" Ash yelled, but the wind snatched the words from his mouth. He pulled his scarf tighter, the enchanted fabric from the fairy gym barely keeping the frostbite at bay. "Here!" Gloria's voice came from the left. She emerged from a drift, shaking snow from her heavy fur cloak like a disgruntled polar bear. "If I ever meet the Articuno responsible for this weather, I'm plucking it. Check your six." Marnie's voice cut through the static of the com's earbud. Ash turned. A shadow moved in the whiteout. Not a person. A bear tick. And it was starving. The massive polar bear Pokémon lunged from the mist, icicles dripping from its jaws. It wasn't roaring, it was hunting, silent and desperate. Lucario. Ash didn't reach for a ball, Lucario was already moving. The aura Pokémon burst from the snow where he had been buried, intercepting the bear tick with a force palm to the chest. The impact created a shockwave that blew the falling snow into a clear circle. The bear tick stumbled back, stunned but not defeated. "Don't hurt it," Ash ordered, stepping between his Pokémon and the wild beast. He reached into his pack and threw a ration bar, high-calorie protein designed for Snorlax. The bear tick sniffed the air, snatched the food, and vanished back into the whiteout. "We're not here to fight the locals," Ash said, his voice grim. He checked his compass. It was spinning wildly. Magnetic interference. "The null energy is leaking all the way up here. We need shelter," Marnie said, appearing at his side. Her face was pale, her lips tinged with blue. Even with her spikemouth toughness, the sub-zero temperature was draining her. "My device says -40 degrees. Without wind chill. The Split Decision ruins are 3 miles north," Gloria shouted over the gale. "But in this visibility? It might as well be on the moon." "We walk," Ash decided. "Rope up. If one falls, we all fall. If one stops, we all die." They moved like a single organism through the hellscape. Ash took point, breaking the trail. Gloria took the rear, her claymore acting as a counterweight against the wind. Marnie was the navigator in the middle, watching the faint energy signatures on her wrist computer. The cold was a physical weight. It seeped through the layers of wool and tech weave, settling in the marrow of their bones. After 2 hours, the terrain shifted. They entered a canyon of ice. "Ash, stop," Marnie tugged the rope. "What is it?" "Above us." Ash looked up. Through a break in the storm clouds, he saw them. The legendary birds. But they weren't the majestic creatures of Kanto. These were the Galarian variants. Articuno, violet and cruel, floated with psychic menace, its eyes glowing with a freezing light that seemed to stop time itself. Zapdos, a flightless orange raptor, sprinted across the canyon rim with legs that moved like pistons, kicking up lightning storms. Moltres, black and burning with malevolent magenta fire, screamed as it banked through the canyon. They were fighting. Zapdos leaped, delivering a thunderous kick that shattered a glacier. Moltres retaliated with a chaotic screech, unleashing a fiery wrath that turned the ice to steam instantly. "They're insane," Gloria whispered, watching the titans clash. "They're usually territorial, but this is a death match." "It's the frequency," Ash said, shielding his eyes from the falling debris. "Lysander's drones are hurting them. Pushing them toward the Dyna tree. If they unleash that much energy at the tree." Crack. A massive shelf of ice, dislodged by the battle above, sheared off the canyon wall directly above them. Thousands of tons of ice plummeting down. "Move!" Ash roared. He didn't run away. He ran toward the cliff face. Under the overhang. They dove into a shallow depression in the rock wall just as the avalanche hit. The world went dark. The sound was deafening, a grinding roar that shook the teeth in their skulls. Snow and ice slammed against the opening of their small cave, sealing them in. Silence returned. Absolute, pitch-black silence. "Is everyone alive?" Ash asked. His voice sounded loud in the cramped space. "I think my left foot is still attached," Gloria groaned. A light clicked on, her tactical flashlight. They were in a small rock alcove, maybe 6 feet wide. The entrance was blocked by a wall of solid ice and packed snow. "We're trapped," Marnie stated calmly, though her teeth were chattering. "We're safe," Ash corrected. He sat up, brushing snow off his shoulders. "The storm can't hit us here. And the avalanche masked our heat signatures from the birds." He looked at the two women. They were shivering violently. The adrenaline of the run had worn off, leaving only the biting cold. "We need heat," Ash said. "Charmander isn't with me. And I can't risk a fire in here, the oxygen will burn out too fast." He unzipped his heavy white coat. "Get in," Ash ordered. Gloria blinked. "Excuse me." "Body heat," Ash said, expanding the coat. "It's standard survival protocol. We lose heat from our extremities. We need to corsair." Marnie didn't hesitate. She moved to his left, unzipping her own jacket and pressing her side against his. She pulled his coat over her shoulder. "He's right, Gloria. Unless you want to lose those toes." Gloria grumbled something about forward behavior, but she crawled to his right. She wrapped her arms around his waist, burying her face in his chest to escape the chill. Ash pulled the heavy furs over all three of them, creating a cocoon. It was intimate. Painfully so. Ash sat in the middle, his arms wrapped around both of them, holding them close. He could feel Gloria's heart hammering against his ribs, strong and slow. He could smell Marnie's scent, vanilla and ozone, beneath the smell of wet wool. For a long time, nobody spoke. They just breathed, sharing the warmth, letting their shivering subside. "You're warmer than you look," Marnie murmured, her head resting on Ash's shoulder. "High metabolism," Ash joked weakly. "Pikachu helps too." The electric mouse was currently squeezed between Ash and Gloria, acting as a living hot water bottle. "Ash?" Gloria asked. Her voice was muffled against his chest. "Yeah. Do you think we can beat him?" "Lysander?" Ash rested his chin on the top of her head. "We have to." "That's not an answer," Gloria said. She shifted, looking up at him in the dim light of the flashlight. Her eyes were vulnerable, stripped of her usual bravado. "He has an army. He has money. He has a god complex. We have a sword, a shield, and a bad attitude. We have something he doesn't, Ash said softly. What? We have this, Ash squeezed them both tighter. He thinks people are variables in an equation. He thinks Pokemon are tools. He fights alone. Even when he's surrounded by troops, he's alone. Ash looked at Marnie, then Gloria. I used to think I had to do it all, Ash admitted. I wanted to be the very best. Singular. But lying in that bed in the dojo, I realized something. A king isn't the strongest person in the room. A king is the person who makes everyone else stronger. Marnie looked up. Her dark eyes searched his face. Is that a proposal, Ash Ketchum? Ash smiled. In the darkness, it was a warm, genuine thing. It's a promise. If we get out of this, I'm not ruling alone. I can't. I need the sword to lead the armies. I need the shadow to watch the whispers. I need you. Gloria let out a shaky breath. She reached up and touched his cheek. You're a smooth talker when you're freezing to death. Survival instinct, Ash quipped. The moment stretched. The tension shifted from fear to something magnetic. The boundaries of the triad Marnie had spoken of were melting away in the heat of the huddle. We should rest, Ash whispered. The air is thin. Sleep. I'll take the first watch. No, Marnie closed her eyes, snuggling deeper into his coat. We sleep together. If the oxygen drops, we all wake up. Or we don't. Within minutes, the exhaustion took them. They slept entangled, a knot of limbs and trust, buried under a mountain of ice. They dug themselves out 4 hours later. The storm had broken. The sky was a bruised purple, but the wind had died down. They stood before the split decision ruins. It was a fortress of stone, split down the middle by two contrasting colors, yellow for electricity, red for dragon. The doors were massive, sealed with ancient Regibrail. The patterns, Marnie analyzed, running her hand over the cold stone. They're active. The temple senses the imbalance in the world. How do we open it? Gloria asked, hand on her claymore. We don't knock, Ash said. He stepped forward. He placed his hand on the center seam. He didn't use strength. He pushed his aura, what little he had recovered, into the rock. We are here for the crown, Ash projected the thought. We are here to save the land. The ground shook. The stone doors groaned. They didn't open outward, they dissolved into energy. From the darkness of the temple, 2 pairs of eyes ignited. To the left, 6 dots arranged in a hexagon, crackling with frenetic electrical energy. Regiloki.to the right, 7 dots forming a Y shape, pulsing with deep, draconian red. Regidrago. They didn't attack immediately. They stood as guardians. They're testing us, Ash realized. They won't let us pass to Calyrex unless we prove we can handle the power. 2 against 3. Gloria grinned, drawing her sword. I like those odds. Careful, Ash warned. Regieleki is the fastest Pokemon in existence. Regidrago has the highest raw destructive energy of any dragon type. As if hearing him, Regieleki moved. It didn't run. It teleported. 1 second it was still, the next it was a blur of yellow light zipping around the chamber. ZZZZZT. An electroeb exploded around them. Scatter. Ash yelled. They broke formation. Marnie. Lock down the speedster. Ash commanded. Gloria. Tank the dragon. On it. Gloria shouted. Inteleon. Snipe shot. Her Inteleon materialized, leveled a finger gun, and fired a high-pressure water jet at the dragon orb. Regidrago simply opened its maw, which was its entire body, and ate the attack. It roared, unleashing a dragon energy wave that swept across the floor. Urshifu. Detect. Gloria swapped instantly. Her bear appeared, creating a protective barrier that barely held against the red tide. On the other side, Marnie was struggling. Grim snarl. Spirit break. Marnie's fairy lunged, but Regieleki was too fast. It zipped behind Grim snarl, spinning into a rapid spin that acted like a buzzsaw. It's too fast to target. Marnie yelled. I can't land a hit. Ash stood in the center. He wasn't fighting. He was watching. He saw the patterns. Regieleki wasn't moving randomly. It was bouncing off the magnetic ley lines of the room. Regidrago was charging up, absorbing energy for a massive blast. Swap targets. Ash ordered. What? Gloria yelled, holding back the dragon breath. Trust me. Ash roared. Marnie. Use trick. Give the iron ball to Regieleki. Marnie understood instantly. She pulled a heavy, rusted iron ball from her bag, a training weight. Grim snarl. Catch. Grim snarl caught the ball. Grim. Now. Prankster ability. Switch items. Grim snarl clapped its hands. A dark energy swapped the item it held with whatever Regieleki was holding, nothing. The iron ball materialized in the electric golem's magnetic field. Clang. Regieleki's speed plummeted. It sagged toward the floor, weighed down. Gloria. Now. Ice beam on the floor. Make it slippery. Intelion. Intelion fired at the ground beneath the dragon. The floor turned to a sheet of ice. Regidrago, preparing to charge, lost its footing. It slipped, its massive dragon jaw arms flailing. Ash. They're open. Gloria screamed. Finish it together. Ash commanded. Lucario. Aura sphere. Urshifu. Wicked blow. Grim snarl. False surrender. The three attacks converged. Lucario's blue sphere hit Regidrago in the center. Urshifu's dark punch slammed into Regidrago's side. Grimsnarl's hair whip clotheslined the slowed Regieleki. Boom. The guardians crashed into the back wall. They didn't dissolve or faint. Their eyes dimmed. They bowed. The floor between them opened. A light ascended. Not a blinding light, but a soft, regal green glow. Floating on a cushion of psychic energy was a small, deer-like creature with a massive, budding flower bulb on its head. It sat atop a spectral steed, Shadow Rider Calyrex. The king of bountiful harvests. It didn't speak with a mouth. The voice resonated in their skulls. It was ancient, sounding like cracking ice and growing roots. You carry the scent of the wolf, Calyrex projected. Its gaze landed on Ash. And the scars of a king who has bled for his land. Ash stepped forward. He knelt. Gloria and Marnie, sensing the gravity, knelt beside him. We need your help, Ash said. The land is being poisoned. The null energy is cutting the bond between people and Pokemon. I know, Calyrex nodded. I can feel the screams of the earth. The false king, Lysander, seeks to sever the roots of the world. The spectral horse whinnied, stamping a hoof that dissolved into mist. I cannot fight your war for you, Wolf King. The balance must be restored by human hands. But I can give you the means to cut the poison. Calyrex raised a small hand. A seed floated from its bulb. It drifted to Ash. Ash caught it. It was warm, pulsing with green light. The seed of unity, Calyrex explained. It is not a weapon. It is a bridge. Planted at the heart of the corruption. If your will is true, it will bloom and purify the null energy, turning it back into life. The Dyna tree, Ash realized. We have to plant this at the Dyna tree. Make haste, Calyrex warned. The birds have arrived. The corruption has begun. If the tree turns black, Galar falls, the temple began to rumble. The back wall dissolved, revealing a tunnel leading straight to the Dyna Tree Hill. Ash stood up, clutching the seed. He looked at Gloria and Marnie. Ready for one last ride? Gloria hefted her sword. Let's go gardening. Marnie checked her ammo. I hate gardening. But I love a good fight. They exited the tunnel onto the Dyna Tree Hill. The sight stopped them dead. The massive pink tree, usually vibrant, was turning gray. Veins of violet null energy were creeping up its trunk like ivy. Circling the tree were the 3 legendary birds. But they weren't fighting anymore. They were caught in a tractor beam emitted from a massive Aegis airship hovering above the tree. The ship was siphoning their energy, funneling it into the tree, forcing it to mutate. Standing at the base of the tree, surrounded by a battalion of elite troops, was a figure in black armor. Not Lysander. That's... Gloria squinted. Leon, Ash whispered. It was Leon. The former champion. But his eyes were dull, covered by a visor. He stood rigid, a puppet. He's being controlled, Ash said, his heart sinking. Lysander didn't just kill the opposition. He enslaved them. Ash drew the rusted sword. Gloria, Ash said. You take the troops. Marnie, he continued. You take out the airship. Break the beam. And you? Marnie asked. Ash looked at his brother-in-arms, the man he had looked up to. I'm going to save Leon. Chapter 6 End. Chapter 7, The Gala of Knives. The air beneath the Dyna tree did not smell like snow, it smelled like burning ozone and the metallic tang of blood. Ash didn't plead with Leon. He didn't scream his name. The time for words had died when he saw the vacant, violet light behind his brother's visor. Pikachu, Ash said, his voice low and devoid of tremor. Thunderbolt. Full power. Don't hold back. Pika. Ash and Leon moved in perfect synchronization, a mirror image of 2 champions who knew each other's souls. Leon threw a ultra ball, Ash pointed a finger. Charizard materialized, but it was wreathed in dark, artificial armor, Aegis tech clamped over its wings and tail. It roared, the sound distorted by a modulator. Charizard. Wildfire. Leon's voice was flat, synthesized. Iron Tail. Cut the flame. Pikachu launched himself into the inferno. The steel-hardened tail sliced through the wave of purple-tinged fire, parting the sea of heat. While the Pokémon clashed, the trainers moved. Leon drew a tactical baton, electric current crackling along its length. He lunged. Ash stepped inside the guard. He didn't have a weapon drawn, the rusted sword was sheathed. He caught Leon's wrist with his left hand, the impact jarring his shoulder, and drove a palm strike into Leon's chest plate. It was like hitting a brick wall. Leon didn't flinch. He twisted his wrist, breaking Ash's grip, and swung the baton at Ash's temple. Ash ducked, the air hissing above his head. He swept Leon's leg, but Leon simply hopped over the sweep and delivered a brutal kick to Ash's ribs. Ash skidded back across the frozen roots of the Dyna tree, coughing. He's fast. Enhanced reflexes. Ash. The ship. Marnie's voice crackled in his ear. High above, Marnie was free-falling from her Corviknight, landing on the hull of the Aegis airship. I'm on the hull. Marnie shouted into her comms. Morpeko, or a wheel. Jam the intake fans. Below, Gloria was a whirlwind of steel. Her claymore was a blur, deflecting laser fire from the elite troopers. I can't hold them forever, Ash. There's too many of them. Plant the damn seed. Ash looked at the Dyna tree. The gray corruption was spreading fast. He looked at Leon. Charizard had pinned Pikachu against a rock, preparing a point-blank hyper beam. Lucario. Ash roared. Intercept. Lucario burst from his ball, intercepting the beam with a cross-armed block. The explosion sent shockwaves through the tundra. I have to end this, Ash realized. He couldn't win a prolonged fight. Leon was a machine, and Charizard was enhanced. Ash reached into his pouch. He gripped the seed of unity. Pikachu. Lucario. Cover me. Ash sprinted. Not away from Leon, but toward the tree. Target priority, Alpha, the Leon drone intoned. Eliminate. Charizard abandoned the fight and dove at Ash. Dragonite. Tackle. Ash's Dragonite intercepted Charizard in mid-air, the two dragons colliding with the force of a freight train. Ash reached the base of the tree. He slammed his hand against the bark, pushing the seed into a fissure in the wood. Grow! Ash screamed, pouring every ounce of his remaining aura into the seed. Flash! A pulse of emerald light exploded from the tree. It rushed up the trunk, faster than fire. The gray veins of null energy shattered like glass. The leaves turned from ash gray to vibrant pink. The shockwave hit Leon. The feedback loop in his control visor squealed. Leon grabbed his head, screaming, a human sound this time. The visor sparked and shattered. He collapsed into the snow. Above, the Aegis airship lost its power tether. Fans are jammed. Marnie yelled. She's going down. Jump. The massive ship listed, smoke pouring from its engines, and crashed into a snowbank a mile away. Silence returned to the hill. Ash fell to his knees, panting. He looked at Leon. The former champion was lying face down in the snow. Leon. Ash crawled over. He turned him over. Leon's eyes were closed. He was breathing, but barely. The neural link had been severed violently. We did it, Gloria limped over, her armor scored with laser burns. We saved the tree. Ash looked at the vibrant pink leaves drifting down around them. Yeah. But the war isn't over. 2 weeks later. Winden. The transition from the frozen hell of the tundra to the velvet-draped opulence of the Winden battle tower was jarring. Ash stood in front of a mirror in the penthouse suite. He wasn't wearing his tactical gear. He was wearing a tuxedo of midnight blue, tailored to perfection. A cape of white silk, lined with red, hung from his shoulders, the formal regalia of the monarch. He adjusted the tie. He felt ridiculous. He felt like a target. Stop fidgeting, Marnie said. She sat on the sofa behind him. She was unrecognizable. The leather and spikes were gone, replaced by a sleek, floor-length gown of black silk that shimmered like oil. Her hair was styled, the shaved side hidden beneath a cascade of dark curls. Only the choker around her neck, black velvet with a small pink gem, betrayed her punk roots. I feel like I'm wearing a coffin, Ash muttered. It's a gala, Ash, Marnie said, standing up and walking over to fix his collar. Her hands were cool and steady. You called for a peace summit. You can't show up looking like a soldier. You have to look like a king. Lysander agreed to this? Ash asked, looking at her reflection in the mirror. He had to, Gloria's voice came from the bedroom. She stepped out. Ash's breath hitched. Gloria, the muddy, bloody warrior of the Highlands, was wearing a dress of emerald green velvet. It was cut to allow movement, but it was undeniably regal. She wore her hair up, exposing the scar on her neck from the Weald, a badge of honor she refused to cover with makeup. He's losing the PR war, Gloria said, adjusting a hidden thigh holster beneath the slit of her dress. Since the Dyna tree was healed, the people know he lied about the natural decay of the region. If he refuses a summit, he looks like a tyrant. If he comes, he looks reasonable. He's coming to kill me, Ash said flatly. Obviously, Gloria grinned, checking the knife strapped to her ankle. That's why we invited him. Ash turned to face them. His 2 generals. His 2 queens. Remember the plan, Ash said. We aren't here to arrest him. We aren't here to fight him. We are here to expose him. The gala is being broadcast live to every screen in Galar. We need him to admit what he's doing. And if he starts shooting? Marnie asked. Then we dance, Ash said. The grand ballroom of the battle tower was a sea of diamonds, champagne, and treachery. Every noble house in Galar was present. The air buzzed with polite conversation, but the undercurrent was terrified silence. Half the room supported the crown, the other half was bankrolled by Aegis. Ash stood at the top of the staircase. The herald banged his staff. Presenting His Majesty, King Ash Ketchum, and his royal consorts, Lady Gloria of Postwick and Lady Marnie of Spikemouth. They descended. The crowd parted. At the far end of the room, standing by the ice sculpture, was Lysander Vaughn. He raised a glass of champagne. He looked impeccable in a white suit. He didn't look like a man who had lost a god-killing dreadnought 2 weeks ago. Ash walked straight to him. The music, a string quartet playing a haunting waltz, seemed to fade. Lysander, Ash said, nodding. Your Majesty, Lysander bowed, a mockery of respect. I must say, the resurrection of the Dinah tree was a theatrical touch. Calyrex, I presume. Nature has a way of healing, Ash said, keeping his voice level. If you stop poisoning it. Progress is often mistaken for poison by the simple-minded, Lysander smiled. He gestured to the room. Look at them, Ash. Terrified. Clinging to the old ways. They need a visionary. They need safety, Ash countered. Not a cage. Shall we dance? Lysander gestured to the floor. Not you and I, of course. That would be scandalous. But perhaps, a demonstration of harmony? He snapped his fingers. The lights dimmed. A spotlight hit the center of the floor. A waltz, Lysander announced to the room. To celebrate the ceasefire. Ash offered his hand to Marnie first. It was the protocol they had agreed on. Marnie was the strategist, she needed to survey the room from the center. They stepped into the light. Ash placed his hand on Marnie's waist. 3 shooters on the balcony, Marnie whispered, smiling radiantly for the cameras. 2 by the kitchen doors. Can you jam their comms? Ash asked, spinning her. Already done, Marnie murmured. She leaned back into a dip, her eyes scanning the ceiling. There's something else. The waiters. They're moving in a pattern. Flanking maneuvers. Assassins, Ash noted. Definitely. They switched partners. Gloria cut in, her hand gripping Ash's shoulder firmly. The soup is poisoned, Gloria whispered near his ear. Intelion smelled the arsenic from the vents. Don't drink the punch. Got it, Ash said. Where is Lysander going? He's leaving, Gloria tightened her grip. He's heading for the terrace. He's going to trigger something. The broadcast, Ash realized. He wants an audience for my death. The music swelled to a crescendo. Crash. The skylight shattered. Not bullets. Canisters. Smoke hissed out, filling the ballroom instantly. Masks. Ash roared, dropping the diplomatic act. He pulled a rebreather from his inner pocket. Gloria and Marnie did the same. The crowd screamed, stampeding toward the doors. Lock down. Lysander's voice boomed over the speakers. No one leaves. The waiters dropped their trays. They drew submachine guns. Kill the king. Gloria. Shield wall. Ash commanded. Gloria didn't have her claymore. She grabbed a heavy banquet table, flipping it onto its side with a grunt of exertion. Get behind it. Bullets shredded the tablecloth. Wood splinters flew. Ash grabbed a poke ball from his belt. Surfetched. Defense. The White Knight materialized in his tuxedo, a little bow tie on his neck. He raised his leek shield, deflecting a hail of bullets. Marnie. Lights. More Pico. Or a wheel. Break the fuses. Marnie's Morpico darted into the wall panel. Sparks flew. The ballroom plunged into darkness. Now we're talking, Ash grinned. He leaped over the table. Lucario. Cross chop. In the strobe light effect of muzzle flashes, Ash fought. He moved through the chaos like a phantom. A waiter aimed at him, Ash slid on his knees, sweeping the man's legs, while Lucario delivered a silencing blow to the neck. Gloria was fighting with a silver platter in one hand and a steak knife in the other. She was terrifying. She parried a gun barrel with the platter and hilted the knife in a mercenary's shoulder. Where is he? Ash yelled, scanning the room. The terrace. Marnie shouted, dropping a thug with a judo throw. Ash sprinted for the glass doors. He shattered them with his shoulder, rolling out onto the balcony. The wind was high. Winden spread out below them, glittering. Lysander stood at the edge. He was holding a remote detonator. But he wasn't alone. Held over the edge of the railing, suspended by a psychic field from a Malamar, was a woman. Delia Ketchum. Ash froze. The blood turned to ice in his veins. Mom. Delia was gagged, her eyes wide with terror. She struggled against the psychic hold. You brought a mother into a war. Ash whispered. The rage that ignited in his chest wasn't hot, it was absolute zero. You have a weakness, Ash, Lysander said, his thumb hovering over the button. Attachments. You save the tree. You save the girl. You save the rival. You are predictable. Let her go, Ash said. The rusted sword wasn't with him. He had only his hands. Surrender, Lysander ordered. Kneel. Renounce the throne. Admit to the cameras that the age of Pokemon is over. A drone hovered nearby, broadcasting the standoff to the giant screens in the city below. The world was watching. Ash looked at his mother. She stopped struggling. She looked at him. She shook her head. No. Ash looked at Lysander. I can't do that, Ash said. Then she falls, Lysander sneered. Malamar. The Malamar released its grip. Delia fell. No. Ash screamed. He didn't think. He didn't calculate. He dove. Ash vaulted over the railing, plummeting into the empty air after his mother. Ash. Gloria and Marnie screamed from the doorway. Ash tucked his arms, streamlining his body. The wind roared in his ears. He saw his mother falling below him, 50 stories up. He reached out. Dragonite. He screamed in his mind. I need you. But Dragonite was in the ball. He couldn't release him in freefall fast enough. Ash stretched his hand. His fingertips brushed Delia's. Gotcha, he gasped, grabbing her wrist. He pulled her into his chest, shielding her with his body. But they were still falling. The ground was rushing up. Ash closed his eyes. I'm sorry. Suddenly, a roar tore through the night. It wasn't a dragon. It wasn't a bird. It was a motorcycle engine. No. A blur of red and blue slammed into them in midair. Zamazenta. The legendary hero of the shield caught them. The massive wolf generated a field of energy, turning its body into a platform. They hit the energy field hard, but it held. Zamazenta bounded off the side of the Rose Tower, using the windows as stepping stones, slowing their descent. They crashed onto the lower promenade. Ash rolled, shielding his mother. They skidded to a halt. Ash looked up. Standing over them, panting, was the Zamazenta. But it wasn't alone. Riding on its back, was Hop. Leon's younger brother. Hop slid off. He looked older. Harder. He wore a researcher's coat over combat gear. Cut it a bit close there, mate, Hop grinned, offering a hand. Hop. Ash stared. I thought you were in the lab. I was, Hop pulled Ash up. Studying the legends. Zamazenta woke up an hour ago. It said the king was falling. Ash hugged his mother. She was shaking, but alive. I'm okay, Ash, Delia whispered, cupping his face. I'm okay. Ash looked up at the penthouse balcony, miles above. A small white figure was looking down. Ash's eyes began to glow. A deep, resonant blue. He tapped his comms. Marnie. Gloria. Ash. Are you alive? Gloria was sobbing. I'm alive, Ash said. And I'm done with politics. What are the orders? Marnie asked. Her voice was cold steel. Ash looked at the tower. He looked at the city screens, which had just broadcast his mother's attempted murder and his survival. The city was roaring. Not with fear. With fury. Burn it, Ash said. What? Burn the tower, Ash commanded. Lysander wants to be above everyone. Let's bring him down to earth. Ash, the civilians. Evacuate the lower floors, Ash said. You have 10 minutes. Then I want every fire type in the city to light that spire up. He turned to Hop. Can Zamazenta get us back up there? Hop smirked. He patted the wolf's metallic mane. He didn't come here to play fetch, Ash. He came to hunt. Ash climbed onto the wolf's back. He looked at his mother. Stay with the medics, Ash said. Ash, Delia grabbed his hand. Make him pay. Ash didn't smile. The Wolf King looked at the summit. With interest. Chapter 7 End.